Before Jason Voorhees became the hockey-masked juggernaut of horror cinema, his origins were rooted in tragedy and vengeance. His first on-screen kill didn't even arrive until Friday the 13th, Part 2, 1981, where Jason stepped out of the shadows and picked up where his mother, Pamela Voorhees, left off. His earliest victim was Alice Hardy, the survivor of the original massacre at Camp Crystal Lake. Alice's brutal demise, a screwdriver to the temple during the chilling prologue, marked the true beginning of Jason's reign of terror. She wasn't just any victim. She was the heroine who had defeated Pamela in the first film. By killing Alice, Jason declared himself as the new face of horror, a relentless force with no mercy. This first kill was shocking because it ripped away the audience's safety net. From then on, Jason was no longer the drowned boy in the lake. He was the unstoppable predator, stalking anyone foolish enough to cross his path. If there's one kill that cemented Jason's creativity in the annals of slasher history, it's the infamous sleeping bag kill. In Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, poor Judy, a carefree camper, thought she could hide from Jason by curling up in her sleeping bag. Big mistake. Jason, now resurrected once again, found her with ease. In one of the most brutal yet strangely iconic moments, he zipped her up, slung the bag over his shoulder, and slammed it with full force against a tree. The audience could almost feel the impact as bones cracked inside the canvas cocoon. What makes this kill so memorable is its sheer simplicity. No elaborate weapons, no drawn-out chase, just raw strength and savagery. Judy's death became legendary, showing Jason didn't need theatrics. He was terrifying because he turned the ordinary, a sleeping bag, into a weapon of pure horror. To this day, it's regarded as one of the franchise's most unforgettable deaths. When Jason made the leap into space in Jason X, fans didn't know what to expect. But what they got was one of the most gruesome and imaginative kills in the entire series. Adrienne, a scientist aboard the Grendel spaceship, found herself trapped in a laboratory with a reawakened killer. Jason grabbed her by the head and plunged her face into a sink filled with liquid nitrogen. Within seconds, her skin crystallized, her features froze, and when Jason pulled her out, the audience was faced with a grotesque ice sculpture. But he wasn't done. With a casual slam, he shattered her frozen skull against the counter, leaving nothing but shards. It was shocking, it was brutal, and it was oddly inventive. This kill stood out because it proved Jason didn't need Earth to terrify us. He could turn futuristic science itself into a murder weapon. Adrienne's death remains a fan favorite, a gory highlight of Jason's interstellar rampage. By the time the final chapter rolled around, Jason Voorhees had already built a reputation as a ruthless executioner. But his decapitation of Axel Burns, the sleazy morgue attendant, was pure slasher perfection. Axel was too busy flirting with a nurse and watching aerobics videos to notice the silent killer lurking behind him. Jason waited for just the right moment. In a sudden blur of violence, Jason grabbed Axel from behind and drove his trademark machete straight into his neck. With one brutal twist, he nearly decapitated the man, his lifeless body collapsing against the morgue equipment. Axel wasn't just a random victim. He represented arrogance, distraction, and lust, all punished in a flash of Jason's fury. The kill was raw, unflinching, and perfectly timed. It set the tone for Part 4, reminding audiences that Jason's weapon of choice, the machete, was more than just a blade. It was his calling card. Few kills are as instantly recognizable as the harpoon gun death in Friday the 13th, Part 3. The victim was Vera Sanchez, a college student who found herself wandering too far from safety. After losing a wallet near the dock, Vera encountered Jason for the first time. wearing his hockey mask for the very first time in franchise history. Standing calmly with a harpoon gun, Jason leveled it at her. The moment was stretched with unbearable tension, heightened by the film's 3D gimmick. Then, snap! Jason fired, and the harpoon pierced directly into Vera's eye. Her scream died instantly as her body collapsed into the water. This wasn't just another kill, it was cinematic history. The combination of the hockey mask debut, the 3D effect, and the sheer coldness of Jason calmly taking aim created one of the most iconic deaths in horror. Vera's demise was shocking, gruesome, and unforgettable, forever tying Jason to his mask of terror. Sometimes horror needs a touch of dark humor, and Jason delivered exactly that in Jason X. During a sequence involving a virtual reality simulation of Camp Crystal Lake, Jason encountered two holographic campers, cheerful, half-dressed, and ready to party. The simulation was designed to distract him, but Jason had other ideas. Just like in Part 7, he grabbed one of the girls, zipped her into a sleeping bag, and used her as a human bludgeon. This time, though, the brutality was ramped up. Jason smashed the bag repeatedly against a tree, then swung it into another sleeping bag containing her friend. The result was a grotesque, darkly comedic spectacle. Though these weren't real victims, the kill worked as a brilliant callback to one of Jason's most famous murders, showing the franchise's self-awareness. Fans loved it because it blended nostalgia with sci-fi absurdity. Even in space, Jason stayed true to his roots. Sleeping bags were still fair game. One of the most shocking and memorable kills came in Friday the 13th, Part 2, with the death of Mark Jarvis. Mark wasn't your typical horror victim. He was a kind-hearted camp counselor, paralyzed from the waist down and confined to a wheelchair after a motorcycle accident. For a while, it seemed like his disability might spare him from Jason's wrath. But Jason is nothing if not cruelly inventive. As Mark rolled outside, waiting for his girlfriend, Jason emerged from the shadows with a machete. In one swift, brutal motion, he slammed the blade into Mark's face. The impact sent Mark flying backwards down a long outdoor staircase, his wheelchair bouncing and tumbling violently as his lifeless body remained slumped. It was a kill that left audiences stunned. Not only was it violent, but it felt almost unfair, proving Jason had no limits. No one was safe, not even the most sympathetic character in the story. In Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason's brutality took a creative and claustrophobic turn in the cramped heat of a sauna. The victim, Julius's fellow boxer, a cocky young man named JJ, thought he was safely relaxing after a workout. He lounged in the steam, unaware that the masked killer had followed him into the confined space. Jason, towering and relentless, didn't waste time with theatrics. He seized a scorching hot sauna rock and, with terrifying strength, pressed it straight into JJ's chest. The sizzling sound of burning flesh echoed off the tile walls as the victim writhed in agony, his screams cut short by Jason's sheer force. This wasn't just a kill. It was an exhibition of Jason's creativity. Even in a small, steamy room with no traditional weapons in sight, Jason turned the environment itself into a tool of torment. The scene proved that nowhere was safe, not even in a place built for relaxation. Few kills in the Friday the 13th series are as absurdly iconic as Julius Gau's rooftop showdown with Jason in Friday the 13th. Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Julius, the determined boxer and one of the few brave enough to face Jason head-on, led the masked killer to a rooftop in New York City. There, he unleashed a relentless barrage of punches, striking Jason's hockey mask again and again, fists bloodied, body exhausted. But Jason barely flinched. Standing firm like an immovable wall, He absorbed every blow until Julius had nothing left to give. Breathless, drained and cornered, Julius looked into Jason's lifeless mask as if daring him to strike. Jason did, and with one single devastating punch, he knocked Julius's head clean off his shoulders. The decapitated head flew through the night sky and landed in a dumpster below, the lid slamming shut like punctuation, equal parts horrifying and darkly humorous. This kill cemented itself as one of Jason's most unforgettable moments. Freddy vs. Jason wasn't about a single victim. It was about two horror titans colliding in a blood-soaked spectacle fans had dreamed of for decades. Jason Voorhees, the silent, unstoppable force, squared off against Freddy Krueger, the sadistic dreamstalker. Their battleground shifted between nightmare and reality, and each clash left a trail of destruction. Freddy slashed and taunted, trying to manipulate Jason like he would any victim. But Jason wasn't like anyone Freddy had faced. Unyielding, mute, and driven only by the urge to kill. The carnage was immense. Steel rods impaled flesh, fire engulfed bodies, and blood painted every surface. Human victims fell as collateral damage, caught between two monsters. The climax came at Crystal Lake, where Freddy wielded Jason's machete against him, and Jason tore into Freddy with brutal strength. In the end, Jason emerged from the water carrying Freddy's severed head. But Freddy's winking smile hinted the war was far from over. This wasn't just a kill. It was a showdown that redefined horror's greatest icons. From machete swings to sleeping bag smashes, Jason Voorhees has shown us there's more than one way to make a Friday the 13th unforgettable. If you enjoyed diving into the blood-soaked legacy of horror's most unstoppable slasher, hit that like button, subscribe for more killer breakdowns, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next deep cut. Which Jason kill do you think is the most iconic? Drop your favorite moment in the comments. And remember, never go camping alone.